Hi, I'm Anita Craig, the founder of Flow, Future Leaders of the World, and the Master Leader Program. And today we have with us on the call Paul Mooney, all the way from Ireland currently. And welcome, Paul, onto this call.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
So, Paul, you've got so many different professional qualifications and a depth and breadth of professional experience around you. But what really strikes me, which I haven't seen yet before on a person's bio, is this communal PhD institution that you are calling Communiversity. And that's really interesting. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit more about that.
So I started out doing a traditional PhD with Middlesex University. I started it in South Africa, and I was lucky enough, or I had a conversation this morning with a client who said, you make your luck. So I made my luck by working with 180 burnt out executives in Nedbank for 2 years, trying to understand how burnout can be transformed into resilience. I did all the hard work, and when I looked at the data, I was measuring the wrong things and I didn't complete it. And so I was looking around for another program, and so I found Da Vinci and danced with Da Vinci. They introduced me to a man called Ronnie Lessem, and I met Ronnie in Johannesburg, and I told him what I was trying to do. He says, that's exactly what our PhD is created for. So I joined his PhD community only to realize that they are suggesting that the day of the individual getting a PhD is gone. He said, we have the idea that when a group comes together, that everybody is learning and everybody needs to be validated. And he didn't say the word certified, but I had to bring it in quite quickly. And so together we decided that one of the best things that I could do in a PhD was to accept the task of a PhD to create an institution that creates group PhDs. And so that's what I've elected to do, is to create a communiversity here in Ireland. And once we learn how to do it, then we can share it with other communities. So that's how I ended up with a communiversity.
How would you say you work with these individuals from this place of ignorance into a more wakeful state? And you know, what is the resultant behavior that you typically see then when people go back into the workplace or their societies or communities at large? What happens as a result of this expanded awareness as their continuum opens up further?
So going back to the first part of the question, how do I work with each of the individuals? It's a mix of individually and in the context of a group. And importantly, the people who work with me, we call ourselves guides, not coaches and not facilitators. And the guide, it took me a long time to figure out that it wasn't facilitation or coaching. So we're working in a circle with every individual, and we're tapping into each of their levels of consciousness to the best of our ability in the time that we have. And then everything we have is an invitation to explore. So for example, I was asked a question in a circle where I've been invited into a dysfunctional system where there's one team in Switzerland and one team in Ireland, yeah? Mm-hmm. And the team in Ireland have been given this intervention. And it usually starts with, well, how did you get here? And they go, we got an email to be here, right? And you can see them as 3-year-olds going like this, right? Energetically. So they're a reluctant group, yeah? So one of them said, do we have to build a bridge between ourselves and Zurich? And a facilitator might now go start talking about bridges, yeah? But I didn't. I said, well, what do you think? And I said, if you need to build a bridge between there and there, is there a gap? What's in a gap? And it'll open up a space for people to talk about the differences between the two communities. And that's how it's done. So it's working with exactly what's in the room at that moment, no teaching, other than modeling that as a way to open up the space between the two communities. Yeah, so it's also modeling as well. And at the end, I might say, so did you notice when somebody asked about building a bridge, I didn't teach you about bridges because I have nothing to teach about bridges. You guys think there's a gap for which you might need a bridge. And then I said, is the bridge spatial or is it existential? And they went, what? I said, just Zurich and Dublin, or is it further apart than that? And I went, and they had to think about it. So that's what we did.
Wonderful.
We did all that in an hour, and so that group went from being a reluctant group that were told by the CEO to have an intervention, and what often happens in it, and you've seen this, chief executive books you to go and work with the team and say, fix them and it'll be fine. You go to the team and the team says, fix him and it'll be fine. I mean, really? So what the change that we got in them is their reluctance dissolved. Because I told them, I'm not here to teach you anything. I'm not here to tell you anything. I'm here to listen. And I have some practices that might help you explore. So they move from being reluctant to agreeing to at least 2 circles.
Wonderful.
That's it. That's all we do.
Oh,
and then I write a piece. So I take notes and I send them back a narrative. And when they read it, they go, wow, I was at that meeting. Because I'm a druid, so I write it in a way, this poetry. So I write them a poem. Well, prose, but it's pure lyric. So I'll be writing. The team spoke about a bridge, between the 2 communities, and they wondered, what was the gap about? Who's the gap? Are we the gap? Are they the gap? Does the gap, so, and when they read it, they go, wow, I was there. And that is a clinical view of consciousness in process. And then I recorded the Zoom so they can watch it again. And when they watch themselves back, they'll see 1,000 things they didn't see when they were in the call. Yeah. So the technology is proving for me to a point to be a much more effective way of creating this distant intimacy. And when we get together in a physical room, it's different, as you well know.
Wonderful, wonderful. There's this sense of enchanting mystery that you bring into the space that just adds in a magical element to wrap around what could be these otherwise very concretized, polarized, cognitive, head-based experiences for people. And there's a sense of this alchemic process that then unfolds in the natural state. Yeah, beautiful, powerful, really powerful. I'm so drawn to it. So just perhaps you can talk to me, to the audience listening today, around your take on why this inner work is fundamentally so important, what value you place on it, how you see it serving humanity, the world at large, especially in today's current times that we are living and working in.
Okay, so let me start there. There's never been a better time and space to do this work. COVID has paused the entire planet in a way that World War never did. Yeah. So we have a chance to pause and breathe and go, is this the way I want to show up in the world? Secondly, it appears that the continuous economic activity for exponential growth is dissolving as a figment of somebody's imagination, because you can't keep growing the JSE. It doesn't exist. Yeah. And it's another bubble and it'll explode. And so there seems to be a big attempt to digitize time, space, money, work, externalize. And I mean that in an accounting term. I mean, employees are now paying for their own offices by working from their living rooms. Do you realize the impact of that on the balance sheet? So there's something huge going, there's a recalibration going on. It's also an opportunity for people who are members of the system who don't have any power and control to make new choices. So great opportunity.
Thank you. I was going to come to your part of your bio, you know, where you quote, "We are love, and that is all there is." And yet organizations, when we suddenly in this formal structure, the word love becomes this almost allergic word that nobody is allowed to use. Yet
I
as
see it all the time, Anita. That guy loves money. That guy loves power. That guy loves control. That woman loves service. That woman loves her children. Love is everywhere. Everywhere.
So hopefully we'll bring more of that in a very conscious place that makes it feel easy to embrace. And somebody quoted me the other day, an author who I have not yet looked up, but it was the essence of it was when man discovers love in the workplace, it'll be like having discovered fire for the second time.
And it's interesting you say it's man. My experience is that women already know it. Or at least the feminine knows it. I know plenty of men who are more feminine than masculine, and they know it. Yeah, so I think it's hopefully we get an opportunity to gently invite the shadow of patriarchy into a space where they realize that it doesn't serve them anymore, it doesn't serve others anymore. The shadow of anything, it's important to find it and go into it so we know what's there, what we're capable of, and to cohere together, being fully aware of the gold and the shadow and all of it.
The coexistence of everything.
Exactly. Yeah. The paradox. As you say, the paradox and the mystery.
Thank you, Paul. Are there any final comments that are coming through that you wish to share?
Can I close with the Druid's blessing?
I would love that.
So let us honor the path that brought us here, that we drank from each other's well, that we brought unprotected hearts to our dialogue, and that we held no cherished outcome. And in this Zoom today, we didn't negotiate by withholding, so that we leave not subject to disappointment and honoring the space between no longer and not yet.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Blessings from Eru.
Thank you so much.